Hey Trey.
Guess what, man? We're doing an episode.
It is episode 40 and a half, correct?
Yep, of the Beyond the Curve Goes Off Road.
I don't even know what episode of the off-road show this is. That's probably bad of me, but
I don't know either, but this was one of those we were going to do an episode because FTR was supposed to have a race, and then pictures started coming out of properties, and the property looked a little bit like a lake. And you jumped up to Georgia and raced at Iona Pass this weekend. We're going to talk about that. But I think what needs to be said is, yes, everybody watched the Supercross to San Francisco, and it was a swamp. Well, had there been rain while we were there, we would have raced. It was, we couldn't even get there to race.
Yeah.
So it's not that the series doesn't want to race. The series couldn't get their equipment in, safety equipment in. You couldn't get RVs in and out. So had we already been there,
we
probably would have gone, and there would have been a racing had the rain started.
Yeah.
I've only been to a couple of races, and this year will be my 20th year in the sport. I haven't raced all those 20 years,
Yeah.
20 years in the sport. And there's only been a couple times where we have shown up, gotten set up, and then it's been canceled. So this has nothing to do with against FTR or anything, but for those that are trying to prep for GNCC, Indian type races, they got to get seat time, which is why you guys went up to Iona Pass with the. Is this one of the first races with the new owners?
So yes, I believe so. I think they were bought out by somebody in Australia.
Okay,
somebody from Australia. I think a family. The dad bought it out for his daughter to ride on, I believe, and then obviously keep it open for. They do flat track racing. They do sprint car racing there. They do.
There's an oval.
There is an oval.
Oh,
yeah, there is an oval. We actually raced on the oval this weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so and like you said, nothing against FTR. From what they were saying, the trails of the racetrack were good. It was just the way that the property is, where we park, and the entrance to get in is the low spot of the property. So it was.
Excuse me.
It was underwater. Bless you.
Excuse me.
But they said the trails looked pretty good, which I understand it. I don't want to get stuck trying to get in and out of a racetrack, but it did leave the unique opportunity for us to go up and race the Southern Roots series up in Georgia. I believe they started in 2019, and they've been slowly but surely growing. And how often do you get to race a GNCC property a month and a half before you go and race it?
Yeah,
so
sure.
that was definitely pretty cool. Got to scope it out. And I will say, you remember when you took me up there this year, they had logged everything.
Yeah.
Well, some stuff's starting to grow back up, and they worked on the stumps a lot more. There's not as many stumps. And
Cool.
But all in all, I will say, going to a property that hosts a GNCC and then going back to it when there's, I don't know, 50 people there.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's very weird. I hopefully by the time you guys are listening / watching this video, my race vlog will be up from the weekend, and I actually got a shot of us leaving. And when we were leaving, I was just panning around the property, and there's like nobody there. And like they're all like parked in a little area, and there's probably 50 people. Not individual trucks, but 50 people overall there. So yeah, it was cool to go up there and race.
Yeah, I went onto their Facebook page and kind of looked up some stuff, and you guys actually used the start gate.
Yes, we did a live engine start on the grates this weekend. That was pretty cool. I haven't done that since, I don't know, I was 6 or 7 years old racing at Bartow Motocross before they shut down. So that was interesting, to say the least.
But it's pretty cool that this was their finale. So they're done, which is kind of ironic to me. Like they were racing during the winter time.
Yeah.
Whew, man, it's cold. What was it like up there temperature?
Oh my gosh, it was freezing. So literally freezing. When I woke up Saturday morning, it was like low 30s, and it got up to, I think at race time it was 38 degrees. Now, let me just shed some light on my race here. So I'm wearing a dry fit long sleeve shirt, a regular long sleeve shirt, like a cotton long sleeve shirt, my race jersey, my chest protector, and then another windbreaker jacket on top. And I'm still cold going through the racetrack. And so I'm racing, and we're still battling this issue. I can't remember if I've talked about it on the podcast or not, where the bike just cuts out, like it just dies, like somebody pulled the kill switch, or if you're on a bike, push the button.
Yeah.
And it's the weirdest thing ever. It typically will fire right back up, or it'll fire right back up, then die again real quick, and then fire right back up, and then I'm good to go. It's a super weird problem that we've been trying to diagnose and figure out. Obviously, we've changed parts, we've changed certain things, we've reflashed ECUs, we've done a bunch of different things, trying to get it figured out. So that happened a couple times, and it was very muddy up there.
Oh, it looked dusty in parts.
So it was dusty in parts, but then it was muddy and slick
Down in the valleys?
Yeah,
okay.
In some parts as well. And so my brakes started to overheat in certain times of the race. They'd overheat, then they'd come back, and then they'd overheat and they come back. But that isn't what stopped me racing this weekend. I was cruising pretty good, dealing with the issues as they came. I'm not just going to stop racing because those are just minor, issues they're minor humps in the road, like a speed bump. However, eventually I feel like I have to pee. I'm like, okay. So I pull over, I go pee. And if you're, knowledgeable on the male anatomy, you know that you have to hold a certain part to go pee. Well, I'm holding it. I don't feel the fact that I'm holding it. There's like no feeling there. Well, come to find out, and if you know much about stuff that is on like the early stages of frostbite, once they start to thaw out, it hurts extremely bad. Same thing happened to me at the same track, except with my hands. My hands got so cold that we actually had to use the exhaust off of a motorhome's generator to help them warm back up. And I'd say probably one of the worst pains I've ever had. And I've had surgery, I've broken bones, but that was probably one of the worst with my hands. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to wrap it up, call it a day. Obviously, there's something going on here. Well, I get back to the trailer. Obviously, I already talked to my dad. He met me back at the trailer. And he's like, dude, there's ice. There's literally ice on my jacket and on my pants right in that area.
So did you pee yourself?
No. So what was happening is the head of my camelback was leaking. And it was dripping water. And it had iced over. And it was dripping water right in that area. And so it had literally iced it over. And so that ended my weekend, unfortunately. But obviously we need to get that fixed because we cannot have that come Big Buck. Because usually Big Buck's pretty cold as well.
I thought you were talking about your hands. And I'm like, dude, I know you race for a certain company, but 100% makes a really nice cold weather glove.
Yes. So we have come to figure out, I've got the hand things figured out. And because I run like the big gauntlet mud guards, because what was happening when my hands used to get real cold, we figured it out. It's the wind. The wind was making them cold. So we got those, and I haven't had any issues since. But if I run into issues in the future, I can get real prissy and get heated grips and put those on my quad and ride out with those. But all in all, I will say it was a very fun weekend. It was just a boys' trip. Me and my dad, we went up right when we both got off work Friday night. Headed up, got there about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Slept, woke up, got Chick-fil-A for breakfast, which I was very excited about. I love Chick-fil-A. And then made it to the track, enjoyed the youth race, adult race, and micro races.
Did they run mostly GNCC trails, or did they go in and cut their own stuff?
I think it was a mixture of both.
Okay.
It was a lot of GNCC trails, but there were some, cut specifically for this weekend.
So did you lay it out sideways when you got on the round track?
There ain't much laying that big beast around sideways. I did say I think I probably at one point got probably around 60 miles an hour
Okay.
on the 4x4, which that might not be special to other people, but after some of the crashes I've had this season, straightaways were not my strong suit after coming back from them. So to be able to start regaining a little bit of speed in those areas and stuff is, I can be proud of that and accepting of that.
Well, and it's seat time, and you're going up and you're a guest in someone else's series, and you're just trying to enjoy some seat time, and now there's a problem that you need to get addressed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because if you have that problem down here in our normal races, you're like, oh, I got to get that fixed. Well,
Yeah.
you could go up to Big Buck in February,
Mm-hmm.
and you could run into that issue. So it's
Yeah.
nice to know now that you have that.
Absolutely.
That you have that problem.
Which is why we want to do stuff like this, which is why we were bummed FTR got canceled and stuff. We were searching for another series to go and race because you want to shake down your quads and stuff. So, but yeah, it was a good weekend. They had a decent show.
Yeah, because they do the quads and stuff on Saturday, and then the bikes on Sunday.
So when it comes to, we'll start with the bikes. The youth bikes had Easter Harvey.
Easter Harvey?
Easter Harvey.
That's a name?
That is a name.
Oh, sweet.
Easter Harvey won the youth bikes overall. Then Owen Mock came in second. And you can look at this name as well. Gage Eberhardt?
Eberhardt, yep.
He rounded off the podium in third. Then adult bikes was Russell Babbitt.
No, Russell
Bobbitt. Bobbitt, excuse me.
He's a name. Like Russell Bobbitt's actually.
I know I misspoke.
He's actually a former professional player. Yeah.
And you have Bradley Saxon in second and Patrick Johnson in third. Now for the youth ATVs, it was rounded out by Florida natives. Jackson Hancock took the youth overall win. Brian Voigt in second, which was a very close second. And then Bo Collins rounded out the podium in third. Now, Brian Voigt led the entire race until the last lap.
Really?
Entire race. He led until the last lap. I guess there was just a mix-up in lines and unfortunately just couldn't make it stick. But they were hot on each other's heels all race. It was a very good race to watch. And then for the adult quads, you had the one and only Hunter Hart come out and race. Obviously, just won by minutes. Robert Henson in second and Todd Fiddler in third.
Cool.
So that rounded out Southern Roots, which this was my second time ever racing this series, and I enjoy it.
Where did you race before that one?
They run in Georgia. All their races have been in Georgia so far. I couldn't tell you where in Georgia. I want to say it's closer than Iona Pass, so probably 6 hours, 6.5 hours, I think it was. But it was literally in a dude's backyard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The one before?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was last June, or I guess I can't say last, 2 years ago, June, in 2022. My dad and I actually went up and raced it together. And we parked, and there's a mobile home out there. And we didn't think anything of it. We just thought it was We parked, start unloading. Guy walks out of the mobile home, and he's like, hey, I know you guys are unloading, and I know you guys are about to race, but I don't know if I'm going to stay for the entirety of y'all's race, and I might leave. So can you leave, or can you move so that I can make sure I can get my vehicles out? I was like, okay. So we were literally in the guy's backyard racing.
That's crazy. So how long a course do they make for you guys for these?
So our course, I'm going to assume Saturday and Sunday's course is the same, and ours was 8 miles.
Okay.
This race, so pretty decent sized course for a local series.
Now, did you take the hard or the easy route?
So they had 2 hard easy lines. One, I did the hard every lap. The other one, I looked at it, and throughout the entire race, I saw no ATV tracks down it because I think you could only get down it on a bike. Like some of the trees were so closely compact, and it's like I know Hunter, if he was able to do it, he would have done it. So I didn't see any tracks that entire race. So I think only the bikes could have made it down. But I think it's cool. I always love when series include hard, easy lines. Even, GNCC doesn't do it every race, but like even when GNCC does it, I always think, I might not always go for the hard line, but at least they give me the option, Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's kind of making its way back. FTR for a few years used to constantly have these enduro cross sections, and then I don't know, litigation, attorneys, insurance, whatever, kind of stopped it. So the hard easy splits became more popular, and now you're starting to see some more enduro cross sections. And honestly, there's a whole series that's an enduro cross. I'm kind of for or against. I'm not for or against them. We race hair scrambles, so we don't really need false stuff. But man, as a fan, they're entertaining.
Very.
We don't really need man-made obstacles when we have enough natural obstacles that we compete against. But you know what? They're fun, and it kind of separates like guys that are willing to lay it on the line and go for it. So I think there was a time where I was like, man, we don't need this stuff. And now I'm kind of like, I can skip it. If it costs me 25 seconds, cool. Cost me 25 seconds not to
compared
do it.
to the 3 minutes that you'll lose when you lay it over on the logs.
Yeah. So the Brooksville race had a couple hard easy splits. They didn't have an enduro cross section, but the hill climb, you could choose to do it, or you could go around it. So no, it's cool. But yes, the whole reason we wanted to do an episode is because we said, we're going to do one.
Yeah.
And then the race got canceled, and we're like, we're still going to do one and maybe talk about the weather. But since you got to go ride, the only thing, I know you've got some more notes, but the only thing, Stuart Baylor's starting to put out some content, and he dropped a TikTok. And I didn't see it on TikTok. I'm old and I'm still trying to figure out TikTok, but I saw it on my Facebook feed of him scooting over next to a tree, coming in, braking, doing a nose wheelie, and literally watching the smoothness of this. Dude, it's. I showed it to Chuck Crowley. I showed it to Chuck Crowley today, and he's like, "That's just skill." He literally comes in, and for those who haven't seen it, he comes in, he gets next to a tree, kicks up, nose wheelies it into the corner, and as the back end's coming down, the left foot's coming out, and he just rolls through the corner. And it's like, I told Michelle, I said, if we would have videoed me doing that, I would have nose wheelied right through the corner. Just kept on going.
If you could even hold it and not go over the bars.
But he literally and it was so, it was so pretty. So, but yeah, you've got some more notes, but that's what I saw of.
I actually just saw that before I walked over here.
Oh man, it is. Good job, Stuart Baylor. Please put out more stuff like that. All these off-road guys, start dropping that stuff, because it makes old people appreciate. Yeah, we're not doing that.
Well, it's like what's his name? Billy Bolt.
Oh, good Lord.
Billy Bolt, right?
Yeah, he's ridiculous.
I mean, some of the stuff he puts on Instagram is like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, how in the world? And he's not a young chicken either.
No.
Or a spring chicken. He's
his endurocross stuff is stupid.
Like, I don't understand how you can manipulate a bike to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's almost trials-esque.
Yes, on a full-size dirt bike.
Yeah.
But I know you wanted to go over some of the upcoming events that were.
Well, I just want to say, like, this weekend, there's, as far as I know, there's Supercross, but there's nothing. Yeah. There's nothing going on. So that's the last weekend in January. And February, the 3rd, I know there is a FTR race in Indiantown. So, will you be doing that, or is there something going on, or is there a Mid-East?
I do not believe there's a Mid-East yet. I think it's going to be this one that's the Mid-East. 10th. So I will probably be doing the FTR in Indiantown, more than likely on the bike and quad. But I see Detroit. Yeah. That means you will be traveling that weekend.
I will be in Detroit, and I think we will have an episode, and I'll give you a rundown of what it's like to be in the backside of Supercross pits.
Yeah.
So
I love that. That'd be great.
We'll probably talk about it on our MX podcast I do with Derek, but I'm definitely going to run down what it's like to be, because we're doing full privateer. We're driving up.
Yeah.
We're going to be in the backside of the pits. so I won't be at the Indiantown Hare Scramble, but you'll be there, so you can kind of cover it. And I know the following week there's the 10th, there's a Mid East, and then the week after that on the 17th, as we jump in, first GNCC.
Yeah,
which you'll be at.
Getting close.
Yep, you'll be at, and I will more than likely be at the Hare Scramble down in Okeechobee.
Okay.
So
yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. They
they
rescheduled.
Yep. So busy 4 weeks coming up. I've got something this weekend that when we talk about Detroit, I'll drop that in as a little as some of our bonus content.
Yeah.
But
for free.
Yeah.
You don't even have to pay extra for it.
Yeah, you don't have to pay extra or anything. But talk about some of they had a Sprint Enduro. So hit us up with some of that.
So the Sprint Enduro is going to be, it's not really like the quad side where people just come out and race a lot. On the pro side of quads, on the dirt bike side, the pros kind of like to do their own thing. You know, they don't really do much. They don't really, race a lot. So this is the first race out of the year where you kind of see some of these pros start to come out and show their stuff. So in Pro 1, you had Johnny Gerard taking the top spot, Liam Draper in second, and Craig DeLong in third, which Craig DeLong is your reigning GNCC XC1 champion. So we'll have to see how that plays out in come February 7th. 17th, right? Yeah. Well, I guess their race would be the 18th. Yeah.
Johnny Gerard is kind of the wild man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's kind of a freedom finder.
Yeah.
He definitely beats to his own drum.
So we'll have to see if Craig DeLong can bounce back for that when it comes to the 18th. Maybe this was just maybe he's just out there toying with the guys, but
yeah. Keep going.
Then you had in Pro 2 class, you had Angus Riordan taking the top spot, Jason Tino and Toby Cleveland rounding off the podium. And then top amateur was JoJo Cunningham, which is no shocker there, Cooper Jones and Gavin Simmons in third. And then for the pro women's class, you had
Hey Pod.
Hello. Hey, Pod on a Pod.
Pod on a Pod.
And you had for pro women, you had Brandy Richards taking the win, Corey Steed in second, and Rachel Goodish in third. And so that was the highlights of the U.S. Sprint Enduro this past weekend.
We're going to see more of them in 3 weeks because
at the NEPG, correct?
Yep. The first round, South Carolina. There, it's crazy. I actually was planning on doing the full Enduro series this year, and some things changed and gone a different direction. And but that being said, I ran the schedule of what that looks like. And it is crazy. You go back to back, and sometimes back to back to back, almost every race of the season. So there's an NEPG in South Carolina, and then there's a GNCC in South Carolina the next week. So like they literally have one week.
At that point, you just stay in South Carolina. Do you even go home?
I guess for some of those guys, if they can find a cheap place, because it's not Supercross where they're making gazillions of dollars.
Yeah.
So
maybe they can find like a cheap Airbnb or something like that.
Yeah, the factory guys, don't you imagine they're probably cruising back, getting a couple days of training, coming back in.
Yeah.
But yeah, for like guys that are going out of the van the whole time.
Yeah.
Do they just hang out, and do they hang out at Stewart's place? Do they go to Next Level? You know, do they go hang out for a week at club or something?
Yeah.
Do they just kind of camp for a week?
Get a camping spot somewhere, and
because that's once the NEPGs and the GNCC kind of kick off, it is like you got 2 weeks on, a couple weeks off, 2 weeks on, a couple weeks, and it's like, dude, it's like nonstop.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It's 23. Well, I guess now with 13 rounds, it's 23 rounds total. Between the two series. So,
and that's not including the Sprint Enduros if they want to go race those or any other local series.
So it's getting ready to get, especially for the national level guys, it's getting ready to get real busy real quick. Some of the Georgia series are still going. In Florida, we're hot and heavy into winter AMs right now for the motocross side. FTR is, because of weather, they've had to change a couple. The Alligator Enduro has been changed to May. That was going to be in February. March. So there's just weather has played as much as we're seeing it in Supercross.
Yeah.
And we see it on TV. For us guys who like to race our local races, schedules are changing up.
Yeah.
So it's once you get into these national series, they don't like changing them as much. So you might see some mudders, you might see some cold weather races, and we're going to see some excitement. And we're going to see at the National Enduro, we're going to see all the main motorcycle guys. They're all going to be there.
Yeah.
So quad side, it's more or less the GNCC.
Yeah.
Because you guys none of your top guys jump from quad off-road to quad motocross. Like, they don't do that.
So there's actually, I know John Galata, he does it for sure. He just started it last year, and I think he wants to continue to do it.
Okay.
Now, it's not every round he's out there racing ATV motocross, but like he did the Daytona Supercross, and I think he did. He lives in North Carolina, so I'm sure he's going to hit some of the rounds that are close to him. And then I think there's one other guy, but I can't think of who it is, who does do some ATV motocross. So, you know, as a quad guy, you're kind of limited to just either you run nationals or you run locals. Yeah. You don't really have like a national enduro series or a national sprint series. So.
But you do have the Mid-East, so you can jump off and do those for your extra races. But yeah, we got, so on the off-road side, you got nothing this weekend. And then next weekend, you got Indiantown for local hair scrambles. You got also Sorks which is motorcycles only up in Sparta, Georgia, which is another kind of local series that does stuff. So the off-road world is really firing. But you had a few more news and tidbits, and one of them I definitely want to talk about.
Yeah, so I already know which one you're going to want to talk about, so we'll start with the other one. I just want to mention pre-registration is already open for Big Buck, which means it's getting dang close.
Yeah. We have to sing happy birthday.
We do have to sing happy birthday. Do we do that on the podcast?
Yeah, we'll do it right now.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Zach. Happy birthday to you. Hooray.
It's Zach Calcutt's birthday today. Just coming home from baseball practice.
What an amazing birthday present that was. Baseball.
No running.
Oh, well, that is a great.
Yes, so pre-registration. Talk a little bit about it, because I've got a question about pre-registration.
Okay. So, yeah, pre-registration is open. I think they open it a month before the first race. So, yeah, just a hint to, if you're not ready, get your butt in gear, because you need to be ready here shortly.
Because it's so much easier if you pre-register.
Oh, my gosh, so much easier.
You don't have to wait in line. And let me tell you, if you don't register early, the line is long.
Yes, the line is very, very long. And even sometimes at these like big events, even the pre-registration line is long.
Yeah, but at least you're done.
Yeah.
Did I read it wrong that you can actually pre-register for all the races?
No, you did not. So I think they've always had it. I think they're now publicizing it, because I think more people are starting to ask about it who haven't seen it. And I mean, I haven't done too much reading on it, but I do believe it's cheaper to just go ahead and pay it outright, which makes sense, you know. So, you know, that is an option. If you know you're going to be doing all 13 rounds, just go ahead. And, you know, if you're searching for sponsors and stuff, you know, you can use that as a little bit of leverage. Like, hey, you know, they offer this plan. It's going to be cheaper in the long run if you just pay up front. And, you know, if you would like to, you know, join that, get on the crew, then just pay my $50 entry fees every race.
So NEPG just dropped something. They have some pre-registration going on too. And by the way, I know all of you that signed up, there was another debacle again with live laps and trying to get signed up, and the website crashed. And I get it. Those of you that are complaining and aren't going to sign up, it's okay. They're still going to fill up.
Yeah, they're not going to be hurting because you didn't pay your $20 or $50.
It's going to fill up. But what I really want to talk about with NEPG, another series already did it. I think Cetra did it, or maybe Sarah, one of the series. No more tear offs. And then
I think it's NEPG did
and
it.
then no, but it wasn't them. And
Oh,
then
oh.
NEPG has now said, hey, in light of trying to find lands, we're gonna no more tear offs.
Okay.
Question: does GNCC go that route, or do they have enough people that go through and pick up tear offs after every race?
So that's a good question.
I can see FTR getting to the point they do it.
I could see FTR doing that. I didn't see the original series do it. I did see NEPG do it.
There's another. It was a smaller series who did it, and I can't remember if it was Sarah or Cetra.
So,
and maybe I'm completely wrong.
Here's my thing. I don't care. I run roll-offs. I've ran roll-offs since I was in elementary school.
You know who cares about roll-offs?
Who cares about roll-offs?
Jet.
I saw the races just.
Oh, that was not a good advertisement for.
Now
100%.
I will say my roll-offs. I did have the film break on me this weekend at the race, so there is that. But I have also pulled off all my tear-offs in one go before as well. So I've had both sides of the stick.
I used to either not pull tear-offs or pull all of them at one time. We had to get to the point that I had duct tape on them so that I could only get one at a time because I would literally pull all of them. And then I've trashed roll-offs, but I wish now that we might be going to this, I'm waiting for a goggle company to make a bigger
roll.
Yeah.
So I'm torn between that, like what you just said. I've ran Scott's. I ran 9.2. I currently run 9.2. They're one of my sponsors. That's what I run. But I've ran Scott's. I've ran 100%. I've ran pretty much every goggle brand out there because it's like I was telling Bryce one day, which if you guys don't know, Bryce is my sister's boyfriend. He just got into racing. He kept asking me. He's like, "What goggle brand? What goggle brand? What goggles are best? What goggles from this brand are the best?" And I just eventually I got to the point. I told him, I was like, unfortunately you have to buy.
Yeah.
You won't know until you buy. I told him, I said, "You see on that table right there? We were standing in my in the house. I pointed to the table. I said, "You see that table? You see all the goggles on there? There's $700 worth of goggles sitting on that table that I don't use because I've tried them. I ran them for a little bit, found something better, and I ran that." So, and that's where I was at with the Scotts. I love my Scotts, the smaller ones. They used to make adult goggles that were smaller. Well, they discontinued them. So they only have the Prospects and the Fury, which is the 50 millimeter lenses. So, or 48, 50, something like that. So they would push down on my nose. I couldn't breathe. That's important. And so I had to find a solution somewhere else, which I'm glad I did because I found 9.2. I've been running their stuff. I love them. The only issues I've had is one time, which was this past race, the film broke on them. And I'm sure it was user error. I'm sure I was pulling a lot of roll-offs and the canister filled up and it just got too big to be able to pull anymore. So that's the only issues I've had. So in that adversity, I found something better, which happens. But I told him, I was like, you just got to buy. Unfortunately, you don't know unless you try, which is a lot of things in life. But long story long, back to that, your original question, I don't care because it's not going to affect me because I run roll-offs. And on the quad side, it's really not going to affect anybody because we all run roll-offs. What you really need to do is sit down and talk to a dirt bike guy who runs tear-offs.
Yeah, because there's times like this week on Supercross side. Last weekend was roll-off weekend.
Mm-hmm.
This weekend was tear-off weekend. And there is a difference because that mud, dried mud, the roll-offs don't really like them. They like the moisture.
Yeah.
They like because, and I don't know how to explain it. I'm not going to explain it properly, but like a clot of mud hits you and you try to pull, it just kind of slides.
Yeah.
Wet stuff, you can just keep going and you get a nice little stream of going. I don't know how that's going to work with GNCC. If the problem is, what happens when a landowner finds out? Oh, you mean I'm not going to have to worry about having these things? I'm not going to find these? So I'm just curious as to if it's something that at some point I can see like pro motocross. Who cares? They're gonna go walk around the track after it's over with, and they can pick them up. But on when we're going these off road races, for a series like NEPG to say, "All right, we're done. We're not doing it anymore."
But I also have to say, so do you tell people that they can't take water bottles throughout the race?
Well, I can see that one. I can see that one start too.
I can see that start too as well, but it's like if you're concerned about the tear offs, then you got to be concerned about everything.
Yeah.
Because there's been times where I've biked the track on Friday at a GNCC, and we were running the same trail as we did last year, and there's water bottles, empty water bottles on the side of the track. It's like I know people didn't do that today. That's from last year.
Yeah.
That didn't get picked up. So it's like, but I will say, after the next year, I don't see any tear offs. I still see the water bottle. So at what point does it's got to be out there somewhere? Somebody has to be able to innovate something to. Can we make a biodegradable tear off?
Yeah, but how do you make it work? Because I thought about that too. How do you make it work? Because there's some company that makes biodegradable silverware that it breaks down in 240 days. Awesome. Well, let's say I run 100% and I buy my tear offs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's say I buy them and like I've taken almost a year off. When I go to open the package, are my tear offs going to be gone?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
So like I get it, and also
do they have expiration dates? I guess you can't use them past the.
And
date.
is there going to be a vision issue because you start wearing those tear offs? I mean, you run laminates. You can. I mean, there's some pro guys that were running 21 laminates on, so that's a lot of pulls. I mean, think about you having 21, me having 21, and a line of 50 guys having 21.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, when you run out, you stop and get another set of goggles, and you've got 21 more.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a proper way. I think it's one of those. It looks good, sounds good, and if you don't have the manpower to go around and walk the track to pick them up, like a national enduro,
yeah,
you're talking 60, 70 miles of trail that you can't go on a bike and do that because you'll be stopping and randomly.
Yeah, and you can't take something and drag it behind you because the trail's too not wide enough.
A few years ago, WEC, which is the World Endurance Challenge, they stopped using tire warmers for their cars because the energy that those tire warmers were using was so much power. We're gonna stop using tire warmers. Well, they went to Spa, and it was so cold that the cars were coming out on track. The prototype cars was taking them over a lap. So the GT cars were almost lapping them because the prototype cars were having to go so slow when they came out onto the track because they had no grip.
Yeah.
And there were crashes, there were incidents. Well, now all of a sudden they've reversed course quietly. They reversed course because it sounded good. Hey, people, we care about the environment. We are going to take out tire warmers. I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing. GNCC 13-mile loop, maybe we can do a better job of cleaning up.
Yeah.
A national enduro, I completely understand. I'm not opposed to it at all because
agreed.
We don't really race against people. Yes, you get, but we're not really in neck and neck traffic. Whereas you might be in a GNCC where it might be better to have some tear offs with roll offs behind it. Which, by the way, 100%. Can you please make a system where you can have roll offs and tear offs at the same time? So
100% doesn't make that.
None of mine do. None of my 4 sets of roll offs have the capacity to have a couple tear offs on them.
Well, then 100% get on it if you haven't already.
But that being said, I think NEPG great move because you're more individual. GNCC, I think it's going to be hard. I don't see it in pro motocross because, like I said, they all tear them at the same spot.
Well, and at the end of the day, it's all privately owned tracks, and the tracks know what they're getting into. When you have a landowner who's got his cows on there, I could see that. But I was trying to look it up.
They got some of these places, like when we did the South Carolina Sumter, I think we raced on like 7 pieces of property.
Really?
Yeah. We went down a highway for a while. So like, you're going from like one guy's land to another.
Yeah.
So and by the way, we're waiting. We were in one of our checks was in a guy's backyard, and like I'm sure we're all snacking and eating.
Yeah.
I don't have a clue how much trash ends up there after 100 rows.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. I think it's not bad for NEPG, and I don't think most riders. The only thing you're going to get riders complaining about is the canisters do cut a little bit of your
Yeah.
peripheral vision, and some of the helmets don't fit roll offs real good. So
Yeah.
it's going to be one of those
And
things.
I was trying to find it while you were talking about it, but I keep getting ads for this goggle company. I can't remember what it is. And you may have seen it out there, but it's no roll offs, no tear offs. There's something like in the middle of the goggles, it's like a rectangle. And
Oh yes, it's like a piece that goes over it.
yeah, you just wipe it.
Yeah.
I saw that, but I don't know how effective that'd be.
I don't
And
know.
at the end of the day, you're getting your gloves muddy.
Yeah.
And nobody wants muddy gloves. So
I've seen that product.
I saw it. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might be able to take off, and somebody's going to think it's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. Not cool enough for me to run, but I think it's cool and is a good option.
Can we just do it across the whole lens though? Why do we have to have a little square?
Why can't we make the whole lens that?
Yeah.
But I just wanted to mention that. I can't remember what the brand is. Maybe one of our viewers can comment it. But on to my last point here. Jesse Ansley, I saw him post.
Yeah.
He got a 250.
Yeah.
Which means our XC1 dreams are gone, unfortunately. But maybe that was just my dream. I don't know.
When you're just a dumb pundit and some would say I have no knowledge, although I'm pretty good at watching and breaking down. And dude, he was riding the 450 so well, so low, letting the bike work. And I thought, okay, he's just going to make the jump. XC2 hasn't worked out great. Yeah. Let's just jump. And I saw him with the 250. And you know what? I don't know his program. I don't know his sponsors. I don't know any of that. So it may be one of those things like, nope, you're going to run XC2 and it is what it is. But dude, you've been riding that 450 so well.
Here's the thing. Do we see, I don't wish him to, but do we see him dropping down a class? Bubs Tasha, I can't think of his real name. I know his last name's Tasha, but everybody calls him Bubs. He raced XC2 last year for Stu Baylor's team, the Rocky Mountain team, KTM. And this year he's racing for Ampro, racing one of the 4-stroke A classes, 250A or something like that. He literally went from XC2 and went back to an A class.
I don't know how the rules work on that.
I don't know how. I would assume once you're in the pro class, you're in the pro, because XC2 is a pro class.
Yeah. So
I didn't know you were able to drop back down. Maybe it's kind of like the amateur pro stuff on the MX side where you can score so many points and then you can still drop down. I don't know if maybe he didn't score enough points and he was able. So do we see? I wouldn't think he would, and I don't think he wants to. I think he really wants XC2 to work out because he's been trying for so long. But do we see Jesse drop down to 250A or something like that?
I don't know. I haven't spoken to him in a while,
and obviously we're just all speculating.
I just watch him and kind of in awe of what he's done since he's transitioned to this 450, and it was, I saw that and I thought, man, I don't know anything, and but dadgummit, man, he was looking so good on that bike, and why not? And maybe I don't know, is he gonna do some? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I know he's getting to go have fun in Panama.
I saw that. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. But no, whatever he decides, it'll be the best for him, for his decision.
Yeah, obviously.
And his peace of mind.
Or else he wouldn't have done it.
But I just, as a fan, as someone who enjoys watching him ride and watch that transition of, dude, ride that 450 pretty smooth. Like,
and he hung on for the entire 2 hours of the FTR. Like, he wasn't, at least it didn't appear like he was getting, tired or anything like that. So, I really do think, here's the thing about GNCC. GNCC quietly changed this I think last year or the year before, they quietly changed the payouts for the pro race, where it's not XC1, first through 10th place, and XC2 first through 5th or whatever anymore. It's top 15 overall. Get paid. That's it. To me, I feel like it'd be a lot easier to get in the top 15 if you're starting from that front row.
Yeah.
Compared to coming from XC2. You think you'd be, and at the end of the day, you're running with the leaders of XC1.
Yeah.
If you can run with them for a half mile, well, a half mile turns into a mile turns into 2 miles, then you're running with them for a half a lap, then a whole lap, then, it's just slowly growing. And even if you get caught by the XC2 guys, you run with the top of the XC2. I mean, there were multiple times last year where we were seeing XC2 riders leading the overall race throughout the race, and there were multiple times last year where they were on the overall podium at the end of the race. So it's like, even if the XC2 guys catch you, run with them, because obviously they're fast. Yeah. So gain that experience. But
I don't know the overall decision, and as a fan, it's the Florida guy. He's our Florida representative for all these national races. We're gonna cheer him on. I'm gonna cheer him on, and I'm gonna support him however we can. And it was just like, dang man, I thought he had gone a different direction. Speaking of different direction, Thad Duvall's posted he's on a Kawasaki.
I did see that,
but it had green number plates.
So XC2, he went to XC2, riding for.
Can he do that?
XC2 is a pro class now.
Okay.
So XC2 and XC1 are they're interchangeable now.
Okay.
So technically, XC3 class is the only pro-am class now.
Okay.
XC2 and XC1 are both career classes now, technically. So, yes, I forgot to put it in my notes. I remembered it when we started talking about Jesse, and then I forgot it by the end. But Thad Duvall is riding for Stu Baylor's Kawasaki team on a 250F racing XC2.
And Stu got him a monster helmet. I mean, that's actually pretty cool.
And the post that he made with it, too, that was just something special, man. That's just
and it kind of fits. I mean, it does fit that Kawasaki is a monster thing, and it does fit. And as much as maybe it's a marketing side of thing, I really enjoy how Red Bull does their marketing.
Mm-hmm.
But it would look damn weird to have a dude on a Kawasaki with like a Red Bull helmet. Like that would be really weird. But
here's the thing. So Babbitt's Kawasaki, the factory Kawasaki team. Well, I would assume they're factory. I think they are. I believe they're monster.
Did they go back to Arena Cross, or are they still doing something in GNCC?
See, I don't know. I haven't heard anything on that.
You're my insider.
No, they are, because Grant Baylor rides for them.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like 98% sure they're still a thing. So it's like, what's happening there is, I don't know, because I'm pretty sure, because Josh Strang, when he rode for him, which Josh Strang's still without a ride. I don't know what he's doing next year.
How old is he now, though?
I mean, he's got to be in his 30s.
He might be on the retirement side of things.
Yeah, I mean, but as of one of the podcasts I listened to him on it, which let me double check his Instagram page to make sure nothing has been updated. But like,
because he's been around for a while.
He's been around for a long time.
So is it just because if he's not racing, then is it just the Grant Baylor show?
Because the last thing he posted was Merry Christmas.
Oh, so he's been
that was
silent.
December 23rd. Anything else is,
maybe he went home for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, at what point do you just hang up the boots? Because there's a couple other Australians.
When someone's not paying, it's hard for you to put your own money into it. So,
but I want to say it's Angus Riordan, isn't it? Well, I say isn't it like you would know, but
I'm not sure yet. I'm still learning names.
I'm pretty sure there's 2 or 3 Australians that he rides with. They all ride together and train together and all that. So up in North Carolina, I think. So I know he's got his own thing going on.
Bye.
Adios.
Bye bye.
I know he's got his own thing going on there, but I don't know. Last thing I heard, he was still trying to put together a privateer effort, but I haven't seen any posts yet, and we're getting dang close to go time.
It would be sad to see him go, but it's one of those things,
especially in that manner.
Yeah, the torch kind of, they do move on, and you know, there's only, as much as we love the off-road side, it's still limited funding.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, I think Phoenix Honda is really kind of shining on the Supercross right now. Dylan Ferrandis is having pretty decent season.
They're definitely proving themselves.
Right now. So like Supercross wise, they're I'm sure there's a lot of focus in that. They're still heavy in the arena cross. They're doing the off road, so we're going to see how that plays out. But I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we're what, less than a month away. We're 3 weeks away from the start of 10 seconds.
You know what I would love to see? I would love to see Club MX get in the off-road side.
Yeah, but would they want to compete with Ampro?
Yeah, I guess I was going from the Phoenix Honda standpoint, but there is no Honda factory team at GNCC. So, I mean, I guess I see that. But, I mean, I don't know.
It'd be fun to see, truthfully. Give it a couple years to see a Ducati team and a Triumph team. That would be That would be cool.
Yes.
That would be cool to see.
I mean, I don't know. If you want my honest opinion, I think Club MX's program could blow Ampro's program out of the water if they truly went all in on it.
Yeah.
I think, if you want my honest opinion, that's what I think. And so, I mean, maybe a hot take there. Probably is a hot take. But I would love to see more people get in it on it. I mean, obviously Club MX is having some success.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, and the funny thing is they have an amazing facility. They would have to probably put in a woodsy loop.
Yeah.
But so many of these guys train on motocross now anyway.
I mean, look at Stu Baylor.
Yeah.
That's all he posts is
and
MX,
they have such, well, Stu will even tell you, his motocross guys he trains ride off road. His off road guys ride motocross because
they're all interchangeable.
Yeah. So he but I think it would be cool to see. I think it would be really neat. But for these businesses, is there a ROI for them to do such a thing?
Probably not, but it'd be cool, right? I mean, there's a lot of things in life that probably don't have a good ROI, but at the end of the day, it is kind of cool. So,
well, any random factoids as we kind of roll through the we had one race to cover.
Not really. Little update for me. We bought a new bike. It's sitting in North Carolina right now, getting some work done on it, and it'll stay in North Carolina until the Mid-East race on the 10th, and then we're going to bring it back, going to swap some parts on it, and then it'll be at Big Buck, and then it'll stay in North Carolina from then on out with Santo, which I'm actually wearing his sweatshirt, Santo DeRisi. He'll be maintaining my bikes and all that stuff this year. So, yeah, that's about the only program update I got right now.
Very good.
So,
well, it's about that time for everybody to finish up the last minute details and catch Supercross this weekend in Anaheim too. Hopefully it's dry.
Hopefully.
I mean, I will say San Diego turned out to be a really good race, actually. I mean, it went through a drying.
By the main event.
Yeah, it was good. It was fun. I'm going to tell you, as a fan of racing, watching San Francisco was just a slog. I know that's kind of a play on words, but
yeah,
it really wasn't that. It wasn't that fun. We had to cover it. Derek and I talked about it, and even Derek was like, "Man, it just kind of wasn't."
It couldn't have been fun to race in.
I truly believe that a top level GNCC guy would have qualified and might have been able to finish top 10.
I could agree with that.
Because they weren't jumping anything.
No.
It was just, can you get through this mud? Can you survive?
Yeah.
Can you make... And I was like, these guys are so good. They're fish out of water. That is not what they train in. That is not what they ride in. That is not what
That's not
Supercross
their bread and butter.
Yeah, that's not what Supercross is about.
No.
Outdoors, they'll go for it a little more. Still probably wouldn't jump stuff, but they'll go for it.
Yeah.
Supercross, man, the margins are too thin, and
agreed.
I'm not going to make fun of them. I'm just saying, I think with what GNCC guys have to ride through so often, I think the top guys would have maybe top 10's pushing it. They probably would have scored the point. I don't think they would have finished last, and I truly believe they would have made it to Cody Webb, the Enduro. He might have been able to podium because that guy is so skilled on a bike.
Yeah,
he would have been like, "Oh, mud, cool, we can out here." Yeah. But those guys, they did it. But this past weekend at San Diego, I really thought it turned out to be a heck of a race. Like, it was really good.
Now, Sexton and Cooper, what's your take on that?
Honestly,
racing incident?
I think so, because if you want to know the truth, it would have been better for Cooper to win because Sexton would have maintained the red plate.
Yes.
And there is a ego thing with having that red plate. I believe Sexton went high in the berm. Cooper did Cooper things, went underneath.
Yeah.
But then Cooper drifted out to the outside. Mm-hmm. Sexton was trying to slow down so much that he bobbled into, he doesn't want to crash. By the way, he was in a race with Tomac.
Yeah.
If he finishes ninth, he loses another point. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't want to go down. He doesn't want to hit. I think it was a terrible incident that just Cooper didn't get through the corner as fast as Cooper wanted to get through the corner. Yeah. And Sexton rolled. I mean, they were far, far apart.
Yeah.
And they exited the same spot. I don't think it was anything. I think it was a nothing burger. I don't think it was anything.
I agree. But it's the same thing like the Jason and Jet thing. It's getting blown out of proportion because of who it is.
Well, that was Jet's fault.
Agreed. But I'm just saying it's getting blown out of proportion because of what it is.
Yeah.
You know, how many times do you see, helmets being grabbed and stuff? It's happened 1,000 times.
Jet had Jason was in fourth. Jet was in fifth. If I'm in front of you, it's my job to keep you behind me.
Yeah.
It's your job to try to figure out how to get by me. If you're so much faster, get by me.
Yeah.
And I think that ticked off Jet. And most people didn't see that the camera angle was bad. Jet was holding on to the side of Jason's helmet.
He started it.
Yes.
He held on first.
Yes. And Jason then showed him, hey, rookie, this is how you hold on to a helmet. You grab it in the front and you grab it. And that's where Jason got in trouble.
Yeah.
Because he was very aggressive. As Michelle said, Jet couldn't hurt Jason here. Jason could have hurt Jet here.
Yeah.
And that's where there was the trouble. But Jet was wrong. Jet was wrong on this one. I like Jet. I think he's good. I think he's frustrated as hell because things are not going the way.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. Factory HRC, which had the dream season, Shimoda almost high-sided coming out of the gate. He almost high-sided coming out of the gate. I was
very excited for Shimoda this year, but, he fell 3 times in 30 seconds during the heat race.
But he did salvage a fifth, which is not acceptable, but he salvaged a fifth because our own RJ, he RJ'd. He
Man,
I love the kid.
I'm like, RJ.
But he
I'm not saying I could do anything better, but
it was
I'm
nuts.
Man.
It was nuts. I mean,
you started off so good.
Yeah.
Which is not common. So why can't we?
But he's going to give you the full experience and
finish it out, please.
But no, I think the Cooper Chase thing. Chase and AP don't even train together. They see each other on the weekends.
There's no team tactics going. There's no people are saying, "Oh, team tactics." He just held up Cooper so Plessinger can keep going. It's why would he? Like you said, if he keeps Cooper behind him, or if Cooper passes AP, then
Chase has the red plate.
Still has the red plate. Why would you want to give up the red plate?
Yeah, I just think that, and I believe Jet may have awakened I would not doubt to see in free practice or one of the time qualifyings for Jet to get punted.
Yeah.
I feel like he could get punted.
Yeah.
Because you don't mess with the veterans.
No. Especially your first year in the class.
I know they've done motocross, but this is a different world.
Yeah.
The Supercross is a different world. It's closed confines. It's like running on a track versus running a marathon. It's
Yeah.
you know, you're here. You're not. You don't need to.
Yeah.
So
we're elbowing.
yeah.
Like,
So it's that was interesting. It gave us some storylines. I'm sure everybody's talking about it this week. I actually have not seen a lot because I saw the race. I analyzed the race. I sat down with Derek. We talked about it. To me, it was two racing incidents that, well, first of all, Jet has to learn how to pass people on a track that was hard to pass. And I don't know how much slower Sexton could have gone to, I mean, he rolled the top.
Yeah.
So that he could
Cooper could go underneath. And unfortunately, I think Chase just misjudged how fast Cooper was going. I think he thought Cooper was going faster than what he was. And then, like, you could see he bobbled.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't come over on purpose.
He was like, oh, no. But if he stops, he's going to crash.
Yeah. And you don't want to crash because you're in a battle with the other guy. But can we just talk about the past 2 weekends? Yes, it's been mud races. But look at how many factory guys are getting lapped.
Oh, it's crazy. All 3 weeks we've had a championship contender guy a lap down.
And it's like this weekend, Chase and Eli getting lapped. And it's like, when was the last time you saw like so many factory championship contender guys being lapped like they are now?
It was rough. At one point early in the main, the last four, not the top four, the last four, Craig, Stewart, Tomac, and Sexton. That was 19th through 22. And I was like, wow. When did you? And poor Factory Husqvarna.
Poor Mookie, man. Like, I had such good expectations for him this year, and I'm just like, come on, just put it together.
He had a great heat. He had a great heat race. You know, Christian Craig had a decent heat race. Can we build on that? But you know, when you crash, and you crash in those conditions, it's not going to be good. The
wind is just blowed right out of yourself. But what about Rod Bell?
Yeah,
2 mains in a row, and
what about Cade Clayson?
I know, another one.
Cade Clayson, 3 in a row, and
like, these privateers, they're coming for the factory guys.
And the funny thing was, at the beginning of the year, I was like, there's going to be one guy that gets in every week because there's so many top guys, and really the only one we're missing is Colt Nichols. That's the only guy we're missing, and he's not.
Everybody else is still,
and he's not a top 5. He's top 10 guy.
Yeah,
but you know, it's
and first beta main event.
Yeah, Derek and I talked about that a little bit, about the way Triumph is approaching it and the way Beta is approaching it. 2 different tactics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so bad to say, like, their shining star was going to be Colt Nichols and Benny Bloss was going to be the workhorse.
Yeah.
And Benny Bloss is a good guy, good racer. He is a good racer, and he has popped into the top 10 multiple times, but he's not your shining star guy. He's your B rider. And every team has to have one. And he's the B rider. Well, the B rider is having to be the A rider on a new platform. So
I didn't realize how big he was until he was getting.
He's the baby giraffe.
I mean, I didn't realize how. I mean, I heard people talk about he's a big boy.
Yeah.
But when they were giving him broadcast time, I was like, "No, that's a big boy right there."
It's like he's riding a P-dub.
I know. So, like, he literally. Have you seen like the guy that rides 250s and he's like 6'7" or something? I mean, he's massive. Like, when he goes through the whoops, it literally looks like he's pumping on a BMX bike.
There was an Indiana Pacer that started racing motorcycles. This was before I took my first break. When we'd go to the GNCCs, I can't remember his name, but he played for the Indiana Pacers when he played.
Uh-huh.
And he raced. And he was like 6'7", 6'8" guy.
Yeah.
And he would get on the bike, and you're like, how does he even ride? Because, like, when he would sit on the bike, he was still almost taller than me. Like, he's just a big man.
It's like he stands up and there's a gap between him and the seat because he's so tall.
Yeah, and I can't remember his name, but he used to race some, and he would do the GNCCs because he was retired. And it was funny, and that's kind of what some of these guys look like. Marchbanks is not a small guy.
No.
And That's a great run for him. And we all said, don't run 250, go 450.
And
Well,
poor
you know,
Phil.
he's Phil, DNS, fourth, loses the podium to his teammate, and then DNF this weekend.
Which, did you hear what that was? Broken
Oh,
transmission.
yeah.
How in the world does that happen? How do you do that?
Brand new transmission.
Like, how do you break a transmission unless something wasn't assembled right?
Well,
Or
I'm still trying to figure out how Shimoda went through a clutch
I
three
truly
quarters.
do not understand how he did that.
There had to be some sort, or that's what they told us.
Yeah,
Because there's no, I don't care who you are. There's no way that you went through a clutch in three corners.
well, I will say that's probably what they told you, because in my experience with talking to some of the pros at GNCCs and stuff like that, you don't tell people what actually broke because that looks bad for, if you blow up your motor, you tell them that your clutch went out. And if your clutch went out, then you tell them that your chain broke. And if your chain broke, you tell them that you got stuck. Or, it's you do something else so that it doesn't seem like
there's no, I just can't imagine. I've talked to multiple people.
They got to run not on the shelf part. Like, those clutches have to be stronger than the clutches you and I are getting. I don't understand.
But no, it's good. It's been good racing. I mean, it's interesting. We haven't had a repeat winner yet, so we'll see what happens.
Hopefully, in either class, which is crazy.
Yeah. I'm hoping we get a dry weekend. Off-road stuff, when we get a little mud, we're like, oh, it's our off-road weekend. We get cool. We get different. Yeah. And I don't care, but thankfully this weekend the track shaped up. I don't know. They raced in North California and it rained. They raced in Southern California and it rained. They're going a little bit more north, more southern middle. I hope there's a window of opportunity to have. Plus, it's Triple Crown this weekend, which are not my favorite. What is your take on Triple Crowns? Can you imagine like GNCC going, all right, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna run 45 minutes, and then we're gonna stop, and then we're gonna run 45 minutes again.
I don't know. So, as a racer, it would suck. As a spectator, it's cool because you're getting more race. Yeah. You're getting more gate drops. So as a racer, I would absolutely hate it. I would hate doing it.
Yeah.
But I do understand from a spectator and, Feld, why they're doing it, stuff like, I understand because it's more gate drops, it's more excitement. So I understand both sides of the coin here.
Yeah, they're not my favorite. I like the, as much as I'm a traditionalist, I don't mind some different things. I don't mind they've messed with times and different things. I didn't mind the SMX. But I kind of like watching the heats and trying to qualify that last chance.
Yeah.
And then the main.
They'd have to change the schedule though if it rains. There's no way the track could hold up for a trip. Like if it rains again, there's no way that the track can hold up for 3 or 6 main events.
Yeah.
There's no way the track would hold up.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But any random discussions before we sign off?
I don't think so. Happy birthday to Zach. I mean, again, we did sing happy birthday.
We did. How many podcasts do you know of that sing happy birthday to someone randomly walking through the door that no one saw?
Yeah. Nobody even saw the guy.
But
I think that's it.
Well, I guess for us, the next one will be, you're going to do Indian Town. So our next episode will be after February 4th.
So somewhere in that week.
Yep. So we'll be back at it for February 4th. So we will take off this weekend and then we won't have anything to discuss. And then next weekend will be some more racing.
When do you start your play-by-play for
baseball? Yeah. First baseball game is February 29th.
Oh.
Yep, play-by-play.
We're getting there too.
Yep, play-by-play for that, because then I'd call that game for you. I have a game Thursday. I have a game Friday, and then I will be with you on Saturday at the Palatka GNCC.
Look at that. And I do have one more question.
Yes.
I will be putting you on the spot here, so
okay.
So be prepared. When are we getting you back on the bike and back racing? Do you have any plans yet?
I want to. I'm currently training for a marathon.
Yes.
And I am getting ready to get into, we just did 7 miles last week ago. We had a short, long run, which is ironic, a short, long run this week. This Friday, we have 9 miles. Next week, we have 10 miles, which is going to be weird because we're going to have to do 10 miles in Detroit.
Oh, that's gonna be. Oh,
yeah, that's gonna be tough.
ew,
Yeah, so
you enjoy that.
the plan is to get back on the bike, start riding some, but I'm trying to get deeper into this training to make sure my base
Yeah.
is good and see how these long runs affect me. Because the first 7 miles, 6 miles was weird. 6 miles, no problem. It was
Yeah.
great. 7 miles, Michelle popped it out with no problem. I thought I was about to die. 3.5 miles in, I was dying, and I thought, oh, here's the deal: off-road racers, we have pace. We have
Yeah.
pace. We have a pace. We go to that pace, and then we finish strong. Michelle and I were feeling so good. Well, we went out on our finishing pace, and
Oh,
about 3.5 miles in, she was pacing. I hit a wall, and it was just because I was running with her.
mm-hmm.
I turned myself inside out and finished, but oh, it was not pretty.
Barely.
It was
barely
not.
finished.
I never walked. So to answer your question, yes, I want to start riding again. Actually, Jason Crowley was out today on his new gas.
Oh, another new bike?
Yes. Do you know why I bought it?
Why did you buy it?
Because it has Olean's A-Spec suspension on it. It is beautiful.
Can you keep a bike that's not like vintage for more than a year?
Oh,
Like
it's a 250 gas 250,
mm-hmm.
Carbureted kickstart, but it thing fired right up, and he's already got it.
So two-stroke,
yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see him at the next FTR race running, because he didn't want to run red backgrounds, so he's jumped back to the 30 plus class instead of the Vet A class. He's going 30 plus, so he can run white backgrounds. So, but yep, he'll be there. But yeah, he was out today on the practice track here at the house, testing some stuff, going through
the sandbox, right?
Yeah,
the sandbox.
Going through some stuff, and I've never seen a gas, and I've seen them on the track, but I've never actually gotten to see one close up. And I asked him, because he's ridden Husqvarna, KTM, you name. I think the only thing he hasn't ridden is a Beta or a Sherco.
I would agree with that.
And I asked him, like, is there any difference? Like, honestly, for you, can you tell the difference between gas, Husqvarna, and a KTM? He's like, dude, they're all pretty much. Like,
what's the difference between KTM and Husqvarna? Subframe?
Yeah, there's some different pieces and parts, but he said everything.
Half the time when you order something for a Husqvarna, it comes with a KTM logo on it. It's like, well.
But no, he and his dad, they're doing well, and good. We talked about, what we talked about? Talked about Mexican food, because Jason loves him some Mexican. There's a new, for any of you that are local, there's a new scratch Mexican restaurant in Haines City.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, called La Mexicano, I think.
La Mexicano,
and it's right downtown Haines City, and I will be going there because I will need to be going. I like a good Mexican dish, but yes.
So any idea when your first race back will be, or is it kind of just
first race probably won't be till after the marathon?
Okay, and remind me when your marathon is.
May 5th.
May 5th. So at least about 5 more months.
Yeah, I'm gonna give myself some time to ride.
Yeah.
Because yes, my endurance is pretty good. My riding endurance is not gonna be pretty.
Yeah, it's like I try to explain to people like outside the sport. There's a huge difference between riding shape and like being in regular shape. Yeah. Like, I'll tell you right now, if you people that watch the podcast can see I'm getting a little blubber on me, I'm finally starting to gain a little weight. I'm probably at like 150 now. But I'll tell you what, I can go out there 2 hours, ride crazy strong. If you try and get me to go run a mile right now, I'd be pushing it.
Yeah, my baseline fitness is pretty solid right now. Riding condition, not at all. I still haven't even hit the calisthenics to start working on push-ups and core and that kind of stuff, which for the running side, I'm doing well, but I will probably start riding once we get through these first couple of weeks of we're starting to get our long runs are in the 10s. Mm-hmm. Then I'll probably, I want to do something fun.
And, cross train a little bit.
Because the base runs are 3 miles and 6 miles, and it's amazing how much easier. Like, I had to run 3 miles today, and it was like, okay. And I just went and ran it, and it's I used to dream of being able to run 3 miles, and now I run 3 miles minimum once a week.
Yeah.
And it's like, It's weird how that works. So I'm starting to get the feel of that. So yes, the bike is wanting to be ridden. It talked to me the other day while I was out there, and but it's just
So is there any chance, you're talking about after the marathon, what races after the marathon and it's on a big mountain? Is there any chance we can get you up the snowshoe?
I don't feel like that's. I've done some dumb things. I've done a lot of dumb things, but starting back with snowshoe,
Probably the hardest race of the year on a bike.
probably not my go-to start. I'm probably going to go down to 74 MX or something and
Yeah.
start hitting some open tracks and trying to get a feel of what the bike, and then I will dive back into the woods because I want to do some more enduros. Of course, coming back in the summertime, there's not. I think North Carolina Hare Scramble Series has a
Yeah, and I
couple
think
going on.
Mid-East runs a little bit through
Yeah,
the
but
summer.
everybody takes that summer break, so it's like, all right, maybe I'll say I'm going to race after May, and in reality, I'll be getting a lot of time in and trying to find some stuff to do and find some loops to go ride. But no, I will be. I'm not done with it. I actually thought about that when I was talking with Jason. I'm sure he was thinking as I walked inside, dude, the guy's never going to ride again. But
it's like that bike's gonna rot in there. I should just offer him to buy it, and keep it in there like the 125, and put it in the living room.
But we're having fun doing this other thing, going to races, and like I said, I got some cool things that should happen this weekend, and if that happens, that's going to be something I'm going to check off the I didn't know I had bucket list. And then next weekend, going to help a privateer supercross racer live out his dream.
Yeah.
So we're kind of going a different route right now, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
I mean, and as I told someone the other day, most of the time now my pocketbooks are going empty, given to someone else. Like this, calling the baseball games. That's fun. We're gonna live stream those for the parents that aren't there. So parents kids are playing baseball that can't be there, they can pull up my business page and they can watch the game.
Yeah.
Free of charge, and they can hear their kid's name, and so just stuff like that. Just kind of a different direction.
Yeah.
That's what these calendars are for. Is these are everything that we have on our schedule from now until December. And
which you guys cannot see it, but I'm looking at it, and it is very hectic, and there's a lot of stuff on there.
Yeah, every race series, every major race series, whether it's cars, motorcycles, baseball games. There was an RV show that we went to. Any of that stuff is on there, and that's what my wife and I are doing right now. So Miss Michelle and I are traveling the world. We're going to Dallas for Supercross. So like
I hope you're flying to that one.
No, we're driving. We actually I will tell you, this is where the economics of privateer life come in. We ran the numbers, and with the fact that the weather is suspect, you don't know if it's going to be cold or hot. Or you can't pack a bag to carry on.
Yeah.
So each of us would have to check a bag. Rental cars. When I went to Detroit last time, my Uber bill was $500.
Oh my goodness.
So I can drive. We would save one night at hotels flying, but I can drive. And it came out to almost the exact same amount. And as a privateer people, we love a good road trip.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're gonna hoof it. We're gonna drive.
More power to you.
The only one, if we can find the right flights, is we go to Foxborough for a Supercross race. If we can find the right flights for that, we'll fly up for that. But
now, who would take bikes then?
Privateer guy, he drives.
He would drive regardless.
Ryland's got a van, and he truly privateer likes it. And
hey,
he stays now. He does stay in hotels because he's afforded himself. He saves up his money. For a lot of you guys that are out there, privateer life, whether it's off-road or whatever, he saves up his money, skimps on a few other things for himself, but he has allowed himself to start staying in hotels because you get a better night's sleep.
Yeah, which is important when you're going racing.
Get a good shower. So he stays in hotels and gets himself a good night's rest. So that part, but he drives. He drives to all the races, and he and his girlfriend. So
as much as I enjoy a good road trip myself, I will say I'm glad now that somebody's going to be taking care of my bike for me. These the Indiana rounds and probably the Ohio rounds we'll be flying to this year, as of now at least. So
I'm going to drive the Indianapolis round too, but we're going to stop in at Moore's Bar and Grill.
You have to, right? I mean, that's just
gotta go
you
see
have
Pete.
to.
So, but nope, that's it for that's shop talk and off road, and it should be not only are we off road, we're off topic.
Yes.
So this was episode 40 and a half. That's MJ. He's got a weekend off. Gonna work on some stuff, and I do not have a weekend off, which I will report on when we come back from Detroit. And I'm Trey Heath with Michelle and Trey Real Estate. This has been the Beyond the Curve Goes Off Road and Off Topic podcast. We'll talk to y'all in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.